Welcome to the Divorce Matters Podcast, where we teach you how to survive the family court system. We will give you no-nonsense, straightforward strategies for getting you an equitable outcome. We guarantee you won't hear this advice anywhere else. A reminder that we are not attorneys and this is not legal advice. However, we will help you more than any attorney ever will. And now, here's your hosts, Michael Alexander and Mark Fidelman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Divorce Matters. Today, I've got a special guest. His name is Bogdan Lindell. Michael can't join us today, but he sends his regards. This is podcast number 4, is about delivering judicial justice from what most people call family courts a rigged system. And today you're going to hear from Bogdan, who no doubt has experienced what maybe a lot of you have or have not or are about to. So this is something that you're going to want to pay attention to. If you're dealing with a move-away case, this is the podcast for you. So, Bogdan, before we get started, I want anyone to know, and I'm going to start saying this in front of every podcast now for a while, if there are any whistleblowers out there, you can contact me or Michael anonymously. Our contact information is in the show notes about family courts. We're not looking for you to rat anyone out. We just want to know where the courts are not acting constitutionally, or if they're acting not according to their own local rules, or just human rights. Because I've seen it personally. I know Michael's seen tons of it. And those listening here have probably seen more than any of us collectively. So again, another call out for whistleblowers. We've had a few, and we're gathering that information, and we'll use it in the future. So with that preamble, a little long this time, Bogdan, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into your story.
I'm Bogdan Lindell. I was born in Ukraine, came here in 1999 when I was 13 years old, and have 3 wonderful kids.
And unfortunately, those kids have been moved away from you. Is that correct?
Yes. Many times. Many times they've been moved.
Let's go back to what happened. So you got divorced. I don't think it's important to know why you got divorced, unless there is. You could correct me if I'm wrong. We haven't had a conversation before this, but I have a vague idea of what you've gone through. So why don't you walk us through what led up to the move away?
Well, which one? Because there was many.
The first one was South Carolina, and then you went to Arizona, and then she went to Arizona. Is that right?
There was 2 moves to South Carolina, and then 1 move to Arizona.
So what led up to that? I assume she said, I want to move the kids closer to my twin sister, and she went to court. Actually, before the court, she threw some silver bullets at you, right?
Well, the first time I woke up on Christmas, this is going to be the 3rd Christmas without kids, so to the empty house. Prior to that, many times she said, I really want to be with my twin sister, and then I want to move. And I said, well, we have a lot of stuff rooted in here in Portland area. Kids were born here. We got church. I worked for the state of Oregon government job. I mean, it's not just let's get up and move. I mean, there's more to that. So I knew she wanted to move, but not this way. So I woke up on Christmas 2018, and the house was empty. She was at her twins in South Carolina. Then she returned on January 1st, and then she said she returned actually to pack her stuff and move permanently, which she did again on January 14th, 2 weeks later, and then I came from work to an empty house. So that was the second move away.
Let me ask you this. The second she moved away on January 14th, did you call the police and just say the kids have been kidnapped?
I did call the police. I had no idea what's going on. The house is empty. The cash is gone. The banks are cleared. I mean, the car is gone. The kids are gone. Half of the house is gone. I called the police. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I've never been in this situation. And they said, we can't help you. Call the attorney and go from there. So they were zero use to me. And then I almost died. I had to go to the hospital. And it's a long story, but yeah.
Was that die from stress, or has something else happened?
Correct. I mean, I almost got a heart attack.
Well, yeah. I mean, your whole family gets ripped out of your life that quickly. So then what did you do? Did you call an attorney?
Well, I did. I mean, not the same day, but I think 2 days later, I kind of had to come to my senses, figure out what I need to do, and then kind of go from there. So I hired an attorney and then went from there.
Okay. So you hired an attorney. And the attorney did what at that point?
The attorney said, I said, well, I don't want any divorce or anything. I'm not sure what's going on. I need to figure out where she is because I didn't know where they were. I mean, I had a guess, but didn't have any connection with kids or anything. Didn't know if they were alive. Or actually, it took 8 months. For 8 months, I didn't know where the kids were, if they were alive or anything like that. So, but back to the story here. The attorney is like, well, I said, I just want the kids back, and then I need to talk and figure out what's going on. And then the attorney said, well, the only way to get the kids back is if you file for divorce.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't want to go that route, but if that's the only way we have to do this, then I guess that's what we have to do. And then so I was the petitioner.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in that petition, we basically said, wait, bring the kids back, back to Oregon, and then let's figure out what's going on and then go from there.
Right. And then what happened?
I was able to find her, and then she was served in South Carolina. She was really shocked that I found her, and she was really shocked that I filed, not her, because she said she's going to file. So she got really mad for two things, me finding her, and two, me filing first. She goes, hires an attorney the next day. That attorney tells her, in order for you to win, you have to use the silver bullet, which is basically false allegation and a whole bunch of other stuff. So she retaliated after she was served with a paper to bring the kids back to Oregon. She filed a restraining order. She filed a criminal police report, and she filed a DHS case in South Carolina.
In South Carolina?
She filed false 3 DHS cases, CPS cases in 3 different states.
Wow.
And all were closed, obviously, in my favor. But, they like to lie, and then that's what they do.
Yeah, and there's no repercussions.
And there is no repercussion, and I lost 1.5 years with kids while all these investigations were happening.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. Why didn't your attorney, and I don't know Oregon law, I barely know California law, and I'm not an attorney, so everyone should know that. But I do have an understanding of how this stuff works. In Oregon, why didn't your attorney file a contempt motion because she hadn't returned? Because jurisdiction clearly was in Oregon. That's where you lived for the previous 6 months. So why didn't the attorney file a contempt motion, and then you could have called the police and reported a kidnapping charge?
Because the restraining order and the police investigations took over the forms that we filed to bring the kids back, ex parte or whatever it's called.
Yeah, ex parte.
So her papers were more important and took over my papers. Basically, is what happened.
Okay, and your attorney didn't advise you to file papers on her?
No, I said, well, what do we do? She's like, well, we just have to fight it. I'm like, what do you mean?
That's again, I'm not an attorney, but no, what some people do, and again, I'm not giving legal advice, is they file their own so that you have an even playing field. But why weren't these cases decided in Oregon? Why were they decided in different states? It doesn't matter that she filed in those other states. I would imagine it should be the jurisdiction that you lived for the previous 6 months.
It was decided in Oregon, but then the judge says we're going to have to wait 4 to 6 months until the whole investigation is over.
So the judge made that decision.
Correct.
Instead of bringing the kids back and setting up a proper custody.
So I did have a restraining order hearing.
Yeah.
Which obviously she didn't have anything. She just says, I'm afraid of him, and gave some false information, which the dates and nothing matched, basically. The judge is like, well, here's what's going to happen. If you're going to fight the restraining order, I'm going to keep them in South Carolina and not bring them back. If you're going to keep the restraining order, I'm going to order them back. Which option do you want?
Wow. That was the choice you were given?
Yes. So I said, okay, keep the stupid restraining order. I don't know what it is. I mean, I kind of know what it is, but I didn't have the full understanding at that time because I just got served. I have no idea. I mean, I've never had it. So I'm like.
So you just accepted it?
I'm like, okay, bring the kids back. I need to have kids with me. So keep whatever you want to keep and bring the kids here.
Now that was a mistake, right?
Yes, that was mistake number one.
Okay. So, but they do come back then?
They do come back here, and then they wait another few months before I could see them. And then she says, well, they haven't seen him in 9 months or whatever. They need to reconnect. So how about the only way I'm going to allow him to see the kids would be with the supervisor at the therapist office. And the judge is like, yeah, that's a good idea. So you pay for the supervisor. I had to pay $666 to see kids on Wednesday for an hour and a half and to sit them and talk to them. And for, later I took them to my house and drank tea and, but in the beginning we had to meet at the therapist office, and I had to pay $666 to this therapist.
And how old are your kids?
11, 8, and 5.
11, 8, and 5. Okay, so do you mind telling us the judge's name?
Keith Raines.
Keith, how do you spell his last name?
Raines. He's one of the worst judges in Washington County, Oregon, Hillsborough City.
All right. So, yeah, we're going to put his name in bright.
If you look it up on the ratings, he's one of the worst in the United States.
What rating site is that?
Road Probe, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
okay, that's fine.
I think Road Probe is one of the websites.
Did your attorney ever tell you that you had remedies? The judge was ruling badly. Did he ever say that you could do a writ or you could challenge him? I don't know what they call it up in Oregon, but you could challenge his ridiculous decisions.
No. That's why I fired our attorney. I figured out either the judge is too horrible or the attorney is horrible. So I fired our attorney and I hired somebody else.
Okay.
Which that attorney was doing criminal and divorce. Since now I needed 2 attorneys because now police was calling me.
Yeah. Right.
So I found an attorney who did 2 in 1. Instead of paying 2 different attorneys and telling them my case from the beginning.
Okay. So she brings the kids back. You got supervised visits. Did the supervised visits ever go away?
After a while, basically everything is cleared. The police is cleared. I mean, it took a whole bunch of months or whatever. The DHS is cleared. Everything is clear. There's no reason for me not to have the kids. So finally, they got rid of supervised visits. Paid supervised visits, but they said, okay, let's transition into your brother will be a supervisor for free, and so just take him to your house every day, but no overnight still.
Wow. Until
the custody evaluation is being done, which I had to pay $10,000 for that as well.
Yeah, you had to pay 10, not her.
Yeah, I had to pay for me and her, and do psych eval for both and pay for both.
Were you paying child support at that point too, or is it just?
$2,600 I was paying while not working. I didn't have a job. I was on disability.
And you couldn't see your kids?
And I couldn't see my kids, and I had to pay her $2,600. Had to pay to total 6 different attorneys. Had to pay to custody evaluation, psych evaluation, supervised visits, and had to pay for her car, had to pay for her insurance, and yeah.
This is our family court system, folks. Just keep that in mind. So if you're in a similar situation, you're not alone by any means.
The torture and then the stuff was ridiculous.
Well, believe me, a lot of people are going to sympathize with you here. All right, so let's move on to the first move away to South Carolina. What was done and how this has all happened in a year and a half, which is interesting.
Well, it's going to be exactly this week will be the 3rd Christmas.
Okay, so we're on 3 years. So the first move away to South Carolina, how did she get that done?
She wanted to visit her twin for holidays, but we just spent $8,000 visiting all her relatives in Florida, in South Carolina, and in Missouri. So I'm like, I don't have much time off work, and then we don't have another, $5,000 or whatever to travel and do a whole bunch of other stuff again. I'm like, next year we can go, instead of summer, we can go in the winter if that's what you want. So first time move away was I woke up on Christmas Day. Exactly this year would be the 3rd Christmas. And then the house was empty. And then half a day later, she texted me, we're taking a break on the other side of the country. So I figured she went to her twin.
Okay, so It wasn't a move away. It was more like she just took the kids without your permission. And
Correct. In the middle of the night.
yeah, so it wasn't a legal move away.
And then 2 weeks later, I guess, was the actual move away when she took all this stuff or half of the house and everything and actually moved.
Yeah, I want to be clear. It wasn't a legal move away 2 weeks later, but she just did it anyway. And then she filed all those silver bullet nonsense in order to.
After she was served and she got mad. Correct.
After she was served. Okay. All right. So you get her back from South Carolina because you agreed to the restraining order, which we all know is a big mistake.
Correct.
And then what was the second move away? When did she try moving away and where'd she go?
Well, that was the second time she went to South Carolina. So after the supervised visits and everything else, I had the custody evaluation done, which basically was 3 days before the trial. I mean, it was so bad timing that it was crazy.
And who did the custody evaluation?
It was Lori Bonnevere from Tigard, Oregon.
Okay. So is this a government, is it like a family mediator that works for the government, or was this a private mediator?
She works with the court, and then I was basically ordered to use somebody mutual. And then my ex says, this is the only person we're going to agree to. So I had no other option, basically. I said, I don't want to use her. And the court said, we have to both agree on somebody. And she says, I'm not using anybody else. So I had no other choice, basically, or either not see my kids or get this thing done and use this lady and pay her.
Why didn't you want to use her?
Because she had bad reviews from fathers.
Okay. All right. That's probably why she was chosen. You did have remedies even at that point, but your attorney didn't let you know about that?
I don't know. I mean, I was told just to pay everything and then just follow the order.
Who told you that? The judge or the attorney?
The attorney.
Okay. The attorney was wrong. Just letting you know. It doesn't matter that you don't agree on a mediator. If she's down to one, she looks unreasonable. There should have been a set of people that you could agree to. Also, and I suspect you're going to get a bad report here when you talk about it. There's other ways that you can get evaluations. Yes, it costs money, but if you're going to get a bad report, you're going to want to get another evaluator that's private. So tell me what the evaluator said. This bad evaluator, and we're going to name her.
The evaluator basically did a crappy job, which I knew right away because she did 2 meetings at her office and then one meeting at my house. And then the way she handled herself or didn't do the things that I thought she's going to be doing, I knew right away she's on my ex's side and she's going to do everything. The report is not going to be good, which is basically that's what it was. I mean, right away, I never saw the report until the 3 days before the trial. When I got the report, I was shocked to see that the ex told her that her twin now moved to Arizona. Meanwhile, while we were getting divorced for a year and a half, and now the ex asking the judge and the evaluator to move to Phoenix, Arizona with the kids, which the evaluator says is okay, but just not at this time. Maybe give it a year more with father in Oregon. But she was asking to move 3 months later, basically, is what she was trying to do. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? Or like, why? I didn't even think it's going to go this route. And I didn't know they moved to, Arizona or whatever. But at the trial, the judge basically, before the whole thing began, the judge took them to chambers, which another thing I talked to some guys and then they said, make sure the chambers is the side room when they make secret deals and other crazy stuff.
Yeah. Object like crazy. But you didn't do that.
Correct. So I told my attorney not to go there. She says I have no options because it's the judge's room and he's ordering me to go to the side room. I told her not to go there. She basically still went.
Right.
And she came out. She says he's letting them go. Do you want to go through this trial and waste money and do this whole thing, or what do you want to do? I'm like, well, they're not going to go to Arizona. I mean, there's nothing there. Everything is, they were born here, they were raised here, they have father here, they have a house here, they have church here, they have a house here, they have school here. I mean,
support for this podcast comes from kidsmatter.charity, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting for kids' rights in difficult divorce situations. Donate at kidsmatter.charity to help them restore common sense to the family courts.
So what did the kids get to give their voice to this move away?
Nope.
Why not? Why didn't the mediator talk to the kids?
I mean, I don't know if they. I'm pretty sure she did talk to them at their house.
Okay, but did it say in the report what the kids wanted?
She said the daughter is expecting to move, and that's about it.
All right, so hold on just a second, Bogdan. For those of you listening, now I don't know Oregon law, and I'm not an attorney. I think I've said it enough now. However, you absolutely can challenge the mediator on the stand. I don't even know if the mediator was even there. Your attorney probably didn't call her. Am I guessing correctly?
My attorney didn't call her, but her ex's attorney did. So she was there in the room at the trial.
Was there a cross-examination?
Yes.
Okay, so your attorney asked her a bunch of questions, and then the judge, even though she recommended leaving a move away in a year,
the judge didn't follow any advice from anybody. And then I had my the guy who did supervised visits, right, as well.
Yeah,
he saw the whole thing, and he says, "Well, the mother is creating unnecessary drama. The mother is creating all this mess. The kids need to heal and reconnect with the father. Otherwise, he's never going to be able to be a father." And then the judge didn't care about anything.
And what's this judge's name again? Let's just say it loud and clear.
Keith Rains.
All right.
From Washington County, Oregon.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, people need to know this guy's name.
He's retiring. I heard he's retiring next month after 40 years of torturing people.
It doesn't even matter. It really is a mindset within the family courts. It's not just Washington County. It's all over the United States. It really is a mindset that's got to change. So, all right. So he goes above and beyond what the bad mediator says, who's got bad reviews.
Yeah.
He goes above and beyond that and says, yeah, she can move in 3 months.
Correct.
Now, after he issues that order, did your attorney advise you that you can appeal it?
Yeah, basically, I'm like, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with paying her for all the credit cards. I don't agree that the whole, mutual all debt was dumped on me. I don't agree that 2 car loans were dumped on me. I don't agree to this. I don't agree to move. She's like, this is appeals. 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 And basically, she dumped everything on appeals.
Okay, so you did go through the appellate process.
So I had to go research some appeal stuff, and then I talked to some lawyers, found one, and then basically he says you can't appeal basically any of that stuff. You can only appeal like 1 or 2 things from my whole list that I gave him.
Well, probably because you were having a custody hearing, a move away hearing. You can appeal that, anything in that, but any financial things should have been appealed when they were decided, unless they were all decided at the same time.
They were all decided on my trial was 4 days. I mean, they do 5-day trial for killers and some people who kill some murderers or whatever. But there was no reason to have a 4-day trial and me paying to the judge. Every court is like $300 fee that you have to pay to the judge.
Yeah, well, plus your attorneys, which add up.
Yeah, plus attorney, and then the attorney is sitting there the whole day with you. You multiply that. The whole day at whatever rate, $300, $400 per hour. You multiply that per day times 4 days. I mean, that number really adds up.
It's not just that; it's all the pretrial work that they're charging you for.
Correct.
But it's a big number on both sides. So let's just stop again and talk about this 4-day trial. First of all, there should have been experts that were called in to talk about this report and to have a bunch of stuff on the record that during an appeal, you always got to be thinking about appeals because you cannot trust these judges at all. Zero. Okay. I know there are some good judges out there. I know there are, but they're the exception, not the rule. But you've got to put as much into the record as you can in order to have something to appeal, something for the appellate court to grab onto. Now, here's the scam. The trial attorneys don't know appellate law.
Correct.
It's so freaking hard. There are 2 different bodies of law, basically, and 2 different ways of arguing it and 2 different ways of writing it. And then you can go to appellate court. Then you can go to the Supreme Court of the state, and then you could go federal, which most people don't know if your civil rights have been violated, and clearly yours have. You have a 14th Amendment right to association with your kids. There should have been a process they went through, at least in California. I don't know about Oregon, but there should have been a process that they had to go through in order to this move away. I suspect they used the restraining order as a big weapon against you, and that's why.
Correct.
That's why these attorneys lead with that, even though they're not true. You made a huge mistake in agreeing to it, but you know that. And the only reason I'm laying all this out is so that anyone listening to this understands the mistakes you made, so they don't make the same ones. Now, the other scam is that these guys are all working together. Your attorney, their attorney. They're not working directly, but they're in the system, and they don't want to disrupt the system. And so they're not going to do the things that pro-pers do, which are people that lawyer for themselves. The problem with being pro-per, if you're following this podcast, is that you're entering a game, and that's what it is, where you don't know the rules, and all the players, including your own attorney, are in on the game working against you. Not always, but most of the time.
Correct.
So then if you go on your own, they're going to use the rules, use their processes, use their superior knowledge against you, because they don't want pro-pers to win, because it makes them look bad. And it's not true across the board, but a lot of judges say, oh, okay, here's a pro-per. We're going to work against them because, we don't want to see this person succeed. Again, not all judges. So if you're a judge listening to this, I know there's some good ones out there, but again, the exception, not the rule. Okay, so do you finally appeal that custody hearing? And by the way, you got to do so within a prescribed period of time. Usually it's 30 or 60 days. Sometimes it's 10, depending on what the appeal is. You got to be very careful about the timing here. So what happened after that?
So I had the trial, and then it was after 4 days, basically it was over. He says I have to pay her a whole bunch of money, and then they can go ahead and move away basically as soon as the school was over 3 months later. I filed an appeal. I got the ducks in a row. I filed an appeal the next day. So the thing was in February, the trial.
Yep.
And then basically he says, okay, from now on, I'm going to have overnights finally. So he gave me one overnight, Saturday to Sunday with the kids finally. And then he says, okay, well, let's give you 4 weeks. Let's give you 4 weeks after the school is over, give you 4 weeks, and then they can go ahead and leave.
Wow.
So he did give me 4 weeks after the school was over. That was the first time I actually, had a good time with the kids, and then those are the overnights that I actually counted. Mm-hmm. So after the school was over in June, I had 4 weeks, and then they were supposed to leave to Arizona.
You missed the appeal part. You appealed, and did the appellate court take it?
I was just before the appeal. I want to back up a little bit. After the trial, I had another court. It was over the phone in June. It was basically the final thoughts, and then basically to go over the final judgment paper to see if everything was correctly recorded. It was like 50-page document. And then I said, well, if they're moving, like, what's going on? I mean, I don't agree with it, but at least let me, talk to them during the week, schedule order calls or whatever. So he's like, okay, I'll order you talk to kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Since basically not once did the call happen with all 3 kids as scheduled. So he says I get the kids 8 times a year, 8 weekends a year, and then basically I can talk to them anytime I want, including scheduled calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was the final thing I had with the judge. The call was in June. I have the kids meanwhile. And then I filed for an appeal the next day after the whole thing was signed. He signed the paper July 6th. So July 6th this year was the official divorce paper signed, which is officially I became single July 6th. July 7th, I filed for an appeal, and then the temporary stay was granted.
Okay.
While they were deciding what to do. So as soon as you file, they have to decide basically the same day what to do. I said, hey, court, listen, she's moving kids to Arizona. I don't agree with this stuff. Keep them here, and then we need to figure this out. The appeal takes 2 years. So it took them right away. They said, okay, she can't move. She really got mad because she had flight tickets for the next day to fly out.
Of course she did.
So now she is really mad. Because she gave her apartment away. She did everything else here, whatever Now she has to stay in a hotel, and she is ordered not to leave. So she's staying here in Portland in a hotel or whatever. And then she can't move. She's really mad now, and we're fighting back and forth with the appeal. She hired her appeal attorney, and then 3 weeks later, they made their more permanent decision on a stay portion, and they said the way appeal works is they just rephrase the judge, and then the judge says the mother really needs support from her twin sister. And then if the mother is doing good, then the kid's going to be doing good as well. So therefore, she's allowed to move. So the appeals court just rephrased the judge's document or whatever, that he says mom really needs her mental support and emotional support from her twin, and therefore the move is allowed. So that's what they said. I got that paper on August 18th saying the appeals are allowing her to move. As soon as they got that, she moved the next day, basically. And then my appeals attorney said, listen, this whole thing takes 2 years, but the way they're going is most likely, I mean, he's been doing it for 40 years. He says, the way they did this, and then the way I see how they always do it, you're basically going to lose this because they don't want to say that the judge messed up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. One of the things you got to know, though, is that you could have appealed that to the state Supreme Court. And then what you should have done is got a federal injunction. And feds don't care about the state judges necessarily. They still need it. But a federal case would have stopped everything in its tracks because your constitutional rights were clearly violated. I mean, why the judge would be more concerned about the kids growing up next to your ex-wife's sister rather than their dad.
Exactly. That's what everybody said.
Yeah, is the problem with the family courts and why it needs to be changed and why we exist here, Michael and I, to kind of fight this type of injustice and shed a big, bright, shining spotlight on it to get it changed.
So the appeal court, I talked to him. He says, do you want to keep wasting more money? Because it's going to take 2 years. And then most likely, since they allowed her to move, it's going to be harder for them to make a decision to force her back to, after 2 years, back to Oregon. I said, hey, this is too much money. I already wasted way too much money, hundreds of thousands. I maxed out credit cards. I borrow from friends and family. This is not going anywhere. And I don't know if I want to fight this 2 more years. So, she got, the funny thing is, guess what she did? After I filed for appeal for them to stay, she filed a counter appeal to get more spouse support money.
Yeah, of course.
She filed her appeal in retaliation to mine. So every time I file something, she files on top of mine.
Right. I mean, that's how it works. The court allows all this. It's a game. You have to think of it as a game. So I just want to rewind a little bit. It is very important during the trial to get things on the record.
Correct.
You should have your money's better spent getting so much on the record that makes the judge look bad if he rules not in your favor, that then the appellate court can't ignore that, because you want to have the appellate court look at this stuff and it's like, God, we have to overturn it because the judge really made some bad rulings here. And then if they don't, you go to the Supreme Court of that state. I know this is expensive. That's why you probably should learn how to do it on a pro per. And then you go a federal injunction at the same time because, again, your civil rights have been violated.
I have 3 pages of the evil stuff that the judge did. One of them was he told me off the record after the 5 o'clock thing was over, after they shut down the recording, because they do audio recording. As they shut everything down and we're leaving the room, he's like, hey, you should have raised them as Americans, not as Ukrainians. Isn't that discrimination? I'm a Ukrainian. English was my third language.
Well, yeah, it was. Did you have a court reporter?
Well, they shut everything down. We were exiting the room, and that's what he yelled. And everybody who was in the room, including my attorney and my friends, were really shocked. They're like, "Did you hear what he said?"
Why didn't they file a declaration to that effect? That would have been.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what we were supposed to file. I mean, I was so in stress and.
Well, you file a declaration to your appeal.
But it was off the record.
Look, it doesn't matter. You have people in the court that heard it, and they file a declaration with the appeal, and that had to have been that would have been overturned. I'm just telling you, because you can't make remarks like that in front of people. It's unbelievable.
So that's basically what happened. I mean, I have 3 pages of the evil stuff that he did, and I showed it to the people, some of the guys, and then they were shocked to see. I mean, she was so mad, that she doesn't want me to have any records of the kids. She asked the judge not to allow to take pictures. So the judge says I'm only allowed to take 3 photos with the kids during the 2 weeks they're with me, the maximum in the summer.
Wow, that is unbelievable. So,
I mean, what kind of rights? I mean, I cannot talk about kids. I cannot talk about the case. I cannot say my side of the story. I cannot post anything on social media. It's like,
hold on. You're saying a lot. I need to talk about this because these are interesting points. First of all, the Supreme Court just ruled that you could post whatever you want on social media about your own kids. So if the judge has made that rule, it's unconstitutional.
he did.
It's unconstitutional. He's wrong. And you can do what you want. Well, I really look. You're going to get a lot of sympathy from people listening to this. We've all been through it. Okay. All right. So what are you going to do now? What's your plan of attack now?
Plan of attack. I mean, I'm just trying to go ahead and change the laws, and I'm trying to work with Congress people, and then go from there. I mean, I don't see. I mean, the ex is still being evil, and then I had the kids. The first flight to me was on Labor Day. Guess what? I bought the tickets. Oh, he says I have to buy all the tickets. I'm responsible for all the expenses. I bought the tickets for kids to fly to me on Labor Day. Guess what happened? She didn't put them on the plane.
Of course not. Of course. Now, did you file a contempt motion in Oregon?
No, I didn't. But I am, putting information in, and we'll see. In February, she might renew the restraining order. I hope not. I hope she got smarter than this. But we'll see what happens.
No, she's going to renew it. She'll renew it. That's what they do. So wait a second. Why didn't you file a contempt motion?
I want to see what she does in February, and then I'm putting all the pieces together.
But the problem is you got somewhat of a time constraint.
It's 2 years. It's 2 years.
Oh, for contempt?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm almost assuring you that she's going to do that. She's going to file a renewal because if the reason why she got this move away in part is because of that restraining order. That's what they use as an excuse.
Correct. So the restraining order gave her a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's what they use for an excuse. A bunch of BS.
And her excuse is, I'm just afraid he knows where I'm at, and then I'm just afraid, and basically that's her excuse.
Yeah, I think most people know about civil courts.
You don't have to hit anybody. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to say, I'm going to kill you. Nothing like that. Just, hey, I'm afraid, and that's enough.
Bogdan, we all know. We don't have to cover it. Well, that's why we bring these things up in these podcasts. We all know what happens.
I thought you have to have some evidence. You got to have some police reports. You got to have something. Nothing.
You don't. Just the judge thinks she's in fear. That's it. It's ridiculous.
And that's enough to have a restraining order.
Yeah. All right. And then the total advantage is theirs. So, all right. So your plan is just to wait this out on the restraining order. And then if I can make some, and again, I'm not an attorney, but if it were me, I would have filed a contempt motion already. If it were me, and I'm not giving any legal advice.
Well, again, it costs a lot of money. I asked my attorney to pay me $5,000.
You could learn how to do this yourself. I mean, it's a clear contempt violation. It's not hard to research the elements of contempt. And then you might want to, I don't want to advise this. We could talk after, but there's some other things that you can do in order to flip the thing back in your favor that we could talk about offline.
All right.
So at this point, you're just going to wait until if she does a renewal or not. But what are the odds? You're not going to get her back here. How do you think you're going to get her back?
I'm not going to get her back. I mean, it's over. Once I knew if he's going to allow her, I mean, the game is over after she left.
Yeah. I mean, how's your relationship with your kids now?
I don't really have one.
You don't call them? You don't talk to them?
I mean, she told them not to pick up the phone, and she's paying them. I think she's paying them not to talk to me. I mean, the little guy talks to me, and then I just had my birthday, so my daughter talked to me a little bit, but they don't follow any of the scheduled calls or nothing like that.
Okay, yeah. So that's more contempt. So yeah, I think we should talk after this call. But for those of you listening, we're going to wrap things up. This is typical. This is what happens out there if you.
So a few things I could have done differently is not agree to the restraining order.
Well, clearly
because I didn't really know what it is and what that damage it does. The other thing is I could have hired a better attorney or not waste money on any attorneys at all, because I mean, I wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I did not even get every other weekend. I mean, this is a joke.
Well, this is the system. This is not going to be a surprise to most people.
I didn't have to hire any of the attorneys and not waste any of those money, and not be in debt so much. And then the other thing I could have done differently is once she left on January 14th, I needed to hide my things and stuff like that, because guess what she did? The minute I was being served my restraining order, she flew back to Oregon and she broke into my house, even though I changed the locks. As I'm being served the restraining order at my job, she's breaking into the house and she stole the rest of the stuff that she didn't take with her January 14th. So she took my computer hard drive, she took my family photos, she took a whole bunch of stuff second time.
There you have it, folks. I'm hoping you're listening to Bogdan and you understand what's at stake, what you need to do to protect yourself. We're going to get more into this when we have our Silver Bullet series, and we're going to talk to attorneys that can help you with this type of stuff. So Bogdan, I'm really sorry what you've gone through. It's unconstitutional. It's a shame. It's a scam. It's why the courts are rigged against mostly fathers. There's mothers, though. I've talked to plenty of mothers where this has happened. It's usually the breadwinner because of Title IV-D. We'll get into that on another episode. But you really have to be careful in these family courts. If you got a bad judge, it sounds like you did, it's even more important to know your remedies and know how to manage a bad judge. Everyone puts these judges on pedestals. They're just supposed to be fair referees. They're not supposed to be stealing kids and letting people move away. So Bogdan, again, thank you very much. We got to wrap things up, and you're going to keep in touch with me and let me know how this goes, okay?
Yeah, and then after all this, I created a YouTube channel helping out dads to kind of go through, the guys who are going behind me with some of the tips that I shared with. And I'm also trying to put a website to, do's and don'ts and things like that, tips, what to do if you were served, and tips to do if,
All right. Well, what is that YouTube channel? How do people find it?
Surviving Divorce for Men.
Okay. And I'll put that in the show links. All right. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for tuning in. A reminder that we are not attorneys and this is not legal advice. We advise you do the research yourself or to contact an attorney you trust. There are very few of them. This was Divorce Matters Podcast.